because I was in the car, so my phone didn't ring.
Oh, thanks for calling me back. Is this a good time?
Sure. Yeah, I'm retired, so it's all the time is pretty much a good time.
Okay, so back when I took your class, this was it was 1994 to probably 1997. I went on independent study my last year of high school, but I took your creative writing class, and I don't know, you probably don't remember me because you had so many students, but my name back then was Abigail Hales, and I drove a blue 1966 Dodge Dart convertible, the white top.
Oh, you had a Dart, yeah, because I had a 64 Dart back then.
Yeah, I had a Dart, and I took your class, and I loved your class, and I wanted to just tell you kind of where I am now and where I went after high school and where I ended up, because I think you'll like it. So I'm sorry, I'm so nervous, and it's like, it's making me emotional because it feels very full circle to me talking to you. Sorry, I have to give myself a second. So after I graduated, I couldn't afford to go to college. So I went into like the food service. I was a waitress, and then I went into retail management, and I did really well in retail management. And when I was 27 in 2007, I lost my job really unexpectedly when I was pregnant with my third baby, and I started a cake business out of my house right there in Palmdale. And the cake business was Nadia Cakes. I don't know if you're familiar with that bakery, but it's right there in Palmdale.
Yeah, I was actually just there a few days ago, and I got a couple of cupcakes.
Yeah, so
I
that,
had a gift card.
yeah, that's my bakery. I started that out of my house. I didn't go to culinary school or anything. I just took some cake decorating classes at Michael's, and learned how to decorate cakes basically by myself, and then ended up opening up that bakery, and then went on Cupcake Wars, and I won Cupcake Wars, and a few years later I moved to Minnesota, and I opened 2 more locations over there. So I have 3 Nadia Cakes locations in 2 different states. And after I got the bakeries up and running, I decided to take a step back. I had worked 12, 15 hours a day for years and years. And I got back to what was one of my favorite hobbies prior to that, and that was reading. And I always really liked romance. I read a lot of romance when I was in high school, and it was a genre that I just really enjoyed. And when I started diving back into reading, I was having a really hard time finding the kind of romance that I wanted to read. It was either like very light and fluffy, or it was just very deep and serious. And I really wanted a rom-com that had depth to it. So I decided to write my own book, and I joined a site called Critique Circle, and spent a year on Critique Circle, basically, fine-tuning my craft. And I wrote a book on that site called the Happy Ever After Playlist, and ended up getting my literary agent on the very first query on the strength of that book, and ended up getting a 3-book deal with Hachette. And my first book came out in 2019. It was called The Friend Zone, and then the Happy Ever After Playlist ended up being the second in the series, and that came out in 2020. And this year, I released my 6th book. It's called Just for the Summer, and it was a Good Morning America book club pick. It debuted at #1 on the New York Times, and it spent 5 months on the New York Times bestseller list. I'm sorry, being emotional.
Oh, that's okay.
The only schooling that I ever had for writing was your class. You made me love writing. You were so encouraging. That was the only class that I liked. In my whole high school career, that was the only class that I enjoyed. I hated high school, but I loved your class. And I kept everything that I ever wrote in your class. I have it in a binder, and I found it last night when we're moving, and I was going through all of my stuff, and I found the binder of all the different things I wrote in your class with all your funny little notes on it and stuff. I just wanted to tell you that how much you meant, because I don't know that I would be a writer today if it wasn't for you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, you're going to make me cry too. That's the kind of thing that makes you feel like being a teacher was a worthwhile profession, when you can inspire people to go on to bigger and better things. You've accomplished a lot more with writing than I ever will, but that pleases me no end, and I'm so glad you called me.
Yeah, I wanted you to know you made such a difference. I never forgot about you. And you know what's so funny is I do these speaking engagements. I go all over. They fly me all over to speak at libraries and festivals and events. And I tell everybody when I do these events, the only schooling I ever had for what I do was a creative writing class in high school. And that's you. I literally have been talking about you on the stage in front of thousands of people, like several times a month, and that was your class.